All right, welcome to Mississippi Pub. I'm going to tell you exactly where we are if you haven't been here before, because before we came out here to talk to Joe, we had not been to Mississippi Pub. It is kind of hidden, but once you find it, you will want to come back. It is in Inver Grove Heights, 4455 66th Street East. It's behind a nice grove of trees right down by the river, right by the marina. We had fried pickles and salads and burgers with Joe last time we were out here. Great food, great drink, great service, live music. We actually are starting a little bit late here tonight because the gentleman before us played and had massive amount of equipment. So I apologize for coming on a little bit late, but we'll still try to put on a good show for you. Star of the show is Viking Update publisher Tim Yoder. Tim's been covering the Vikings since the mid-'90s. My name's Jim Suhan. I've been covering the Vikings on and off since 1990. Brandon Morton is our producer, our longtime producer. Again, you can find all the shows, pretty much every sport in town, plus a business show at talknorth.com. All right, Tim, kind of the first big day out at the new facility. Tell me about it.
Well, first couple days during middle of the week, it wasn't real full. A couple hundred people actually out there. But now that we got all the veterans in camp, Saturday, Sunday were very full. And, you know, it added a lot of excitement. People are hyped up about the team, where they can go. Kirk Cousins, the defense returns as the number one defense in the NFL. So there's a lot of excitement surrounding the team this year, and for good reason. I mean, things look pretty good to me.
And what jumps out at you? Is it Cousins? Is it is the team kind of getting over the hangover of the NFC Championship game? Is it Sheldon Richardson? What has jumped out at you so far?
Well, I think number one, to come back with the number one defense in the NFL for yardage allowed, points allowed, I think it's number one third down defense, and then really have all your starters come back and upgrade at the one position where they didn't come back with Sheldon Richardson. I think there's a lot of excitement there. There are some interesting things going on, though. Anthony Barr still taking some reps as a fifth defensive lineman in certain alignments. So
really?
It is. They had it rolled out a couple times today. Interesting to see him working there and working on the side with Brian Robinson, who's trying to give him some help with his handwork and all that sort of stuff. And then offensively, to me, the number one thing that has stood out is Dalvin Cook. He looks spectacular. Less than 10 months coming off of the ACL surgery. So, don't know exactly what the plan's going to be yet for him in the preseason. I would think they would take it slow, maybe work him in for a couple reps in the second or third preseason game, call it good. But without a knee brace, now taking full team reps as well, he looks spectacular. I mean, people should be excited about where this offense can go.
Do you think that's a surprise to them? Do you think that changes anything, the fact that he's looked good this early?
I think he worked really hard. I mean, he stayed in Minnesota almost the entire offseason to rehab that knee. And we saw him already in minicamp doing a lot of stuff with the knee brace on. Now that it's off, though, if you didn't know he didn't have that injury, you wouldn't be able to tell. So the jump cuts, the cuts when he's out on a pass route, everything looks like he is a completely healthy guy. And I think that's going to give him a lot of excitement for the fact that, they bring in Kirk Cousins. They have Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Kyle Rudolph all returning. And yet you've upgraded the running game, which should also help the passing game.
I want to ask you about the experience. We want to tell you we're at Mississippi Pub in part because it's so easy to get here from training camp. Yep. So listen, when we're doing a show here, of course, we'd like people to show up and have a beer or have a burger and chat with us. But it's a great place to come for lunch between the practice sessions, for dinner after the afternoon session, for drinks at any time. Again, it's a very relaxing atmosphere. Highly recommended. Also want to thank our other sponsors, Whizkids.tech. It's a downtown Minneapolis business. They came out and saw one of our other live shows recently. TwillMN.com, that's Twill in the Edina Galleria, that's Scott Dayton's clothing store in Edina. Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin, longtime friend of the show, also sponsors our hockey show with Michael Russo. So what's the atmosphere like? Because I had one of the photographers from my paper say it's impressive, it's beautiful, but maybe it's not as intimate as it was in Mankato where, you're going to get, if you're a kid and you're standing by a rope, you're going to get to slap somebody's hand as they run by.
Yeah, I think there's drawbacks and advantages. First of all, it is an impressive facility, and I think they're getting a lot of fans there to check out what this massive building that went up along 494 is all about. And to me, I think one thing that the fans are missing is the autographs that they could get before with players walking across the street, at Mankato State, Minnesota State, Mankato, whatever you want to call it. But what they've improved is the other part of the experience for kids. They have their TCO Stadium where they're not practicing yet. Their night practice next Saturday will be the first time in there. So this whole week they've had it set up for kids. They've got all kinds of cool kids games. They've got cornhole, beanbags. They've got throwing into a net, trying to get it in there. They've got almost like a little kids football field set up there for flag football. They have kids and adults trying to kick field goals, which is highly entertaining to watch adults trying to kick a field goal, even if it's 20 yards.
I saw a clip of Pellicero yanking one about 3 feet off the ground to his left.
Yeah, I would say that was a pretty average representation of how fans are in media.
It's harder than it looks.
It is way harder than it looks. So, while the autographs aren't as readily available as they were in Mankato, the kids area is spectacular. I think they've done a really good job of laying out like picnic areas for people to come and, in between a walkthrough and the afternoon practice. If all you want to do is hang out, you can go to the, inside the stadium and do some of those games. But they've also got food trucks out there. They've got the concession stands open, the picnic areas where people can sit down and have a burger and fries. So all of that part is good. And, as far as the autographs, they're still doing the daily setup autographs where they have one position each day and, people can get in line and wait for it. It's just that informal autograph part that they're missing.
Do you think any of the players or any of the team executives are going to miss Mankato? Because I spent maybe a year of my life in Mankato.
Yeah.
I covered the team back when you went down there in maybe mid-July and didn't leave until the end of August. I did that for 3 years, and then I kind of went back periodically over the years to cover a weekend or a day here or there. And things changed so much there. And when I was there, everybody went to the Albatross,
yep,
and everybody drank. And then the players all jumped in their cars and drove as fast as they could down the street to beat the lock deadline, and then all the Mankato State football players stepped out of the shadows and acted like they were the Vikings to pick up the girls. That's the way it worked back then. And, of course, I didn't have a curfew, so I watched all of it. Do you think there's any sentimentality? Do you think that anybody in the organization is thinking, man, I wish I was in Mankato this week?
I think there is a little bit of that, but having the facility that they have there has really, I think the practice setup is better than it was.
Yeah.
They've got 4 full fields. They've got 4 full fields to work with, plus the stadium to go into. So I think that part is better, but I do think like the nightlife, the after practice, after work type of stuff, the socialization that goes on, maybe finding a player in a restaurant, things like that. That part I think will be missed. But overall, especially the other thing is they're getting close to a deal with a hotel right on campus, right on their facility that the players will stay at. But that's probably 2020 training camp before that's going to get done. So now they're just staying at a hotel in Eagan, which isn't really that big of an upgrade over the dorm situation they were dealing with.
I want to introduce one of our new sponsors, Whizkids.tech. It's a downtown Minneapolis company. When Michael Fannert called me, talk about working with us, we realized we were probably less than a mile apart when he called me. It's a really cool company, and it's a tech company. So I'm not great at explaining what they do. I don't think you are either, Tim. We should have Brandon do these spots because Brandon can explain it better. So I'm going to try to describe what they do in a way that makes sense for the average person. They're locally owned, managed, IT-hosted VoIP and cloud services provider in the downtown market. Again, based in Minneapolis. They are a local company. We love working with local companies. We're a local startup. They're a bigger local startup, but we love working with local people that we get to know, have a personal relationship with. Michael brought some of his people out to our last live show at Delano's Pizza with Michael Russo. It's going to be a lot of fun to work with them. So check out Whizkids.tech.
Hello, Minnesota sports fans. This is Michael Thanner, founder and CEO of Whizkids. Whizkids is a Minneapolis-based managed IT, hosted VoIP, and cloud services provider. Businesses today require fast response times, skilled support staff, clear communication, and technology recommendations that align with their business goals. At Whizkids, we do this each and every day with our clients. When you call into our help desk for support or work with one of our higher-level engineers on a complex issue, you'll find our staff personable and ready to roll up their sleeves to help you solve your technology problems. Reach out to Whizkids today to find out how we can help your business meet your technology goals. Visit us online at Whizkids.tech. That's Whizkids.tech. Whizkids, make it happen.
What's the difference in if you buy a ticket or if you just end up with a free ticket?
Okay, so what they did is they've got the capped attendance daily at 5,000. I think it's somewhere around 1,200, 1,800 of those are, or 1,000 of them, I think, are paid. So you can spend, I believe it's $20, get a ticket, and it puts you in a different set of bleachers that actually have seats instead of the benches and the bleachers. That essentially is it, plus you have a guaranteed seat. So if you want to make sure that, your kids will have a place to sit and, you'll be in that spot the whole day, that's really the advantage of it. Now, the interesting thing to me is I was talking to some people with the Vikings during camp, and this was, I think, maybe Thursday, and you look up there, and they say, there's the difference, because the paid attendance, everybody was there. The free attendance, the free tickets that people could get, well, now if it's a nice day, you can make your decision. I didn't pay for this, so maybe I'm not going to go to training camp. I want to hang out at the lake or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see over the next couple of years some of the adjustments they make after hosting this for the first time in Eagan.
How's Cousins look?
Really good. I mean, a couple things stood out to me that I wasn't quite expecting. Number one, his arm strength. There are some out routes that he's throwing where he has really got a lot of zip on it. He, on Saturday, gave both Diggs and Thielen the opportunity to go up and get deep passes, and they both came down with it. Today, he missed on a deep pass to Diggs because he overthrew him. So I think that's one of the adjustments that they're going to have to make is he's just going to have to trust that, if the defensive back has a shot at it, his receivers are going to make him good and just give him a little bit more trust. But to me, the big thing is going to be how does that offensive line protect him? Because we saw Case Keenum last year basically pull Houdini out of a hat, and just you wondered how he got out of some of those situations. With Cousins, I don't know if he's going to be quite that elusive in the pocket, but he's still athletic. He can get out and run, and I think they're going to do a lot of the run-pass options with him that they're starting to work on.
Sometimes one of the things you can tell in a training camp, because there are a lot of things you can see in a training camp that'll fool you. They don't correspond to anything that happens in the regular season. One of the things you can tell is if a guy has a favorite receiver. Can you tell that yet, or is it too early?
I think it's a little too early. I'll say this, though. Today when he missed on a couple of deep passes to Diggs, Rudolph stood out. He was hitting Rudolph on a lot of intermediate routes over the middle. Blake Bell a couple times, a reserve tight end. So it's going to be interesting for me to see, how often do they want to force it downfield versus looking, at the intermediate routes first and then looking deep, which isn't the way you want to do it. They always say you want to look top down. So as he gets more time with Diggs and Thielen, I think he's going to be able to accept the fact of these are guys that are always going to go get the ball for me. How many times did we see it last year when they just basically wrestled away a reception when it could have been, a batted down pass or an interception for the defensive back?
And DiFilippo, that's the other thing you might be able to tell is what the offensive coordinator really wants to emphasize, what he wants to get into. He seems like he's an interesting guy. He's a talker.
He's hyper.
He's hyperactive. He's a talker. I think he has big ideas. I think he wants to be head coach within the next 3 years. And it's always interesting to watch the guys who think they're auditioning